unfortunately, the movement that was created, a totally political movement called Zionism, that was created solely to fulfill the whims and the wants of individuals, later a large group of individuals. This has nothing, absolutely nothing that is kosher, nothing to do that is halal or something acceptable in the Jewish religion. This movement, in fact, really was born out of people who, to the vast majority, came from families that were estranged from Judaism entirely. There is other movements that started 100 years prior to that redefined what it means to be a Jew, and that they tried to establish and also to legitimize the movements that call Judaism anything, and you don't have to be subservient to God and uphold the words of the Torah. But that is not Judaism. We have a Judaism that is 3,000 years, that we made a covenant with God on Mount Sinai, and that throughout the generations, my grandparents going way back, and many of our families gave their lives for, as well known and recorded in history, whether it was by the Crusades, the Inquisition, where they were burned at the stake, and they simply because they refused to relinquish their subservience to the Almighty and our covenant to God. Just recently, World War II, when the Nazis took over, they also had one thing in mind, and they wanted to totally obliterate the Jewish people. And my grandparents and the vast majority of my relatives died because they were Jewish. And there were many of us who had the opportunity to go to Christian convents, send their children there, and they refused because they said our soul is what we live for, and that is to be close to God. If they're going to die, these parents, and their children will stop being religious, being Jewish, because they won't know of their Judaism, then what is their lives about? So we have one thing and one thing only. Judaism is a subservience to God and a covenant that we made. This covenant stated that after the destruction of the temple, we were put under oath by God not to have any Jewish sovereignty, even if it would not affect others, even in uninhabited land. But on top of that, the Zionists, they didn't care. They were, as I say, totally estranged from Judaism. Now, they had, in order to accomplish what they wanted, they decided to take Palestine. They were thinking of Uganda, Patagonia, anything that's practical, because they wanted a national home. They weren't interested in anything to do with God. They simply decided that Palestine is a terrific place to establish their country, their homeland, because they'll be able to wave the Bible and show it as a deed, as a document that's telling the world, let's say the Christians, the evangelistic Christians, and many who believe that the Jewish people were given the land by God, and therefore they have a deed and a right to the land. So they will use this Judaism, this deed, and they're going to be able to gain the support from around the world, and of course from many Jews who don't know their Jewish laws and any knowledge of what Judaism is. That is why they decided, and being that they weren't fearful of God, they didn't care that they're stealing my license, they're stealing my identity, they're stealing our identity, and an identity that my grandparents died in Auschwitz for, that we gave our lives throughout the generations. They really don't care, because they don't have that godly fear of doing a criminal act. So they use this Judaism, and they used this facade of Judaism, and they took the Star of David, they took the name Israel, and they decided that they're going to go around, traipse around the world. They're going to make a rabbinate and chief rabbis who have nothing to do with it. They're masquerading, they're clowns. There is a Jewish populace living in Palestine, in occupied Palestine. There's Jews around the world, and who are, as you have right across from Manhattan, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, there's not one single Israeli flag, and that is because you will see it is a very religious community. It will cost us fortunes to dress It costs us fortunes because we have private schooling. We have large families. We give our lives for our religion. And because of that, you won't find an Israeli flag. Because we are Jews, we are together with Al-Awda. Because we are Jews, we say there is a right of return. And because we are Jews, we will continue, inshallah, with God's help, as long as we have a breath in us, that we will never relinquish our identity to this Zionism, which is a transformation from religion, subservience to God, to nationalism, built on unacceptable, flawed political gains. This is nothing, it's unacceptable, it will never be acceptable, but not only by the Green Line or whatever they want to make these compromises, it will never be acceptable 1 inch of stealing the Palestinian lands. And I just want, I'm finishing with this. We have to also remember, Judaism has another issue. We have an issue of showing gratitude. If good was done to us and we teach our children, well, I always, very shortly, Moses, when he gave the 10 plagues to Pharaoh, he wasn't allowed to do the first, he said he took God, he's not going to smite the water that it should turn to blood, because he was hid in the basket in the water. And how could he repay bad for good? Jews, we teach this to our children. The Muslim countries and the Palestinian people always embraced us and gave us a safe haven. And we always are most grateful, and we are required to show this gratefulness, and we teach our children this. How dare the Zionists take our religion and claim that it is a religious conflict, that the Palestinians and the Muslims hate the Jews, and this is a religious conflict. This is unacceptable, this is abhorrent, and that is why we are here, and we will continue to be here with God's help until God with compassion will bring a free Palestine sooner nowadays. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Weiss. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you for your allyship and comradely. It is also honored and held you to heart. We really appreciate you, and thank you for joining us this evening.
And now,
Hello?
And now we are overjoyed to be honoring a longtime friend of Al-Awda and the Palestinian movement, Councilman Charles Barron. Known as the conscience of the City Council, Charles Barron is a 4-term councilman, 2-term state assemblyman, and community activist for over 50 years. Barron joined the Harlem branch of the Black Panther Party, and later joined the National Black United Front and founded its Harlem chapter. Shortly thereafter, he was appointed Chief of Staff to Reverend Dr. Herbert Doherty, chairperson of National Black United Front, and later served as Secretary General of Reverend Doherty's African People's Christian Organization. He traveled across the United States visiting many college campuses, churches, prisons, and communities, organizing around international, national, and local issues. As the founder and CEO of the Dynamics of Leadership Corporation, Barron also traveled the country presenting seminars and workshops on leadership development. In 2001, Barron was elected to New York City Council, where he serves until this day. He served as chair of the Committee on Higher Education for over 8 years and was a member of the committees on Education, Consumer Affairs, Immigration, Land Use, Planning, Dispositions and Concessions, Landmarks, Public Sightings, and Maritime Use, and Women's Issues as well. As council member, Charles Barron secured over $15 million in funding to renovate 3 parks, secured allocations for 2 new $80 billion schools, stopped gentrification in his district by securing real affordable housing that was comparable with the income levels of the current neighborhood residents, secured millions of dollars for funding of the Black Male Initiative for City University of New York, and millions of dollars for a workforce development project that generated over 6,000 jobs in neighborhoods of high unemployment in New York City. He is a founding member of the Brooklyn-based organization Operation Power. Charles Barron is known as a fearless fighter for human rights issues. He is described as unbought and unbossed, speaking truth to power and delivering for his community and beyond. Charles is married to Inez Barron. They have 2 sons, Jelani and Jaronza, 3 grandsons, Solomon Osayim Wesi and Jaria Yim Wesi, and 1 granddaughter, Khadija.
Councilman like Mr. Charles Barron really gives us hope in our local government. We also need to add really quickly, we have to say this, I know we're super excited to honor Mr. Charles Barron. Mr. Charles Barron is the only elected U.S. official to go with Al-Awda New York and other Palestinian organizations and organizers to Gaza with Al-Awda and Viva Palestina convoy to break the siege on Gaza in 2009, right after the assault on Gaza. So that is something that we really have to mention and forever indebted for. The only elected official and the first. I mean, I don't know if you're the only, but I know that you were the first. And he is the author of the book Speaking Truth to Power, articles and essays on revolution, black radical politics, and leadership. It is on sale tonight, and you have the opportunity to get it signed by himself. Without further ado, our honoree, Mr. and Councilman Charles Barron, everybody.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Brothers and sisters, you know, I've gotten a lot of awards, but this one is special. This one means a lot to me, because when we made our journey to Palestine, they got me in trouble. I forgot that I wasn't in Brooklyn. So when we got to the border of Rafah, and they told us that we wasn't going to be able to go in, I thought, oh yes we are. I'm stepping out, the army was there, and I'm talking trash, and I said, Roger, I'm not in Brooklyn. But we stood up to them, and we went in, and we gave millions of dollars of aid to our Palestinian brothers and sisters. Well, the linkage between Palestine liberation and black liberation, that will be forever linked. And to our American Indian or indigenous people, I don't know whether y'all, I don't know the politics, but we started off with Russell Means, and he was working with us in the Black United Front way back then. So we link these struggles together because it's the same enemy. Some people think, when I'm in Brooklyn, they say, why are you going to Palestine? Why are you going to even Africa? We have problems here in East New York. I said, because the same people that are supporting the colonization of Palestine and Africa are the people who created the domestic colony called East New York, right here in America. And we got to understand that it's colonial capitalism that we're fighting against. And as we fight against racism, and we should every time it rears its ugly head, we got to be careful, because they'll give you a black president, they'll give you a black mayor, a black mayor cop, they'll give you a black congressman, they'll give you a black vice president, they'll give you a black member of the Supreme Court. So you got to watch out when you just solely focus on racism and not the destruction of colonial capitalism and imperialism. We have to connect it. Right now, one of the biggest problems in the black community is neo-colonialism. The new way to colonize us is to put black faces in high places and celebrate victory. Look at New York State. This should be the liberated state for black people. The Attorney General is black. The head of the state Senate is black. The head of the state assembly is black. The head of the city council speaker is black. The mayor is black. The police chief is black. The head of the school chancellor, black. The head of 3-4 boroughs in New York, black. The head of the 4 Democratic Party leadership in New York, black. Black. And so is poverty black. And so is unemployment black. So we got to make sure when we fight, we're fighting for liberation from the policies and the practices of a colonial capitalist system. And revolution is the only solution. People say, well, why did you get involved in the electoral arena? You know, and why did you run in the Democratic primary? Because our people blindly vote Democratic. And it was a question of power, When I ran, I said to our people, we got to get some power. The only thing they respect is power. At least a piece of it. You got to get power. So when I ran, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Palestine. You know what the speaker told me? You can't. I said, y'all went to Israel, went to Ireland. I'm going to Palestine. Well, who you going with? None of your business. Nobody asked you? I said, I'm going to Palestine. They made me, I had to write a letter to the ethics committee, and they said, who are you taking? I said, my staff. Oh, who are you going with? Whoever I please. How long are you staying? As long as needed. You didn't ask nobody else these questions, so don't ask me. And they sent me a letter back, you know, you may go. I ripped that up, you may go. I had no permission to go. Then I wanted to bring Robert Mugabe, the president of Zimbabwe, to City Hall. I went to the speaker and I said, I'm bringing an African president to City Hall. He said, great. I said, is the red room available? That's the most prestigious room in City Hall. He said, yeah, sure, it's available. What date? So I gave him the date, and then I was walking out, and he said, by the way, who is it? I said, oh, Prime Minister Robert Mugabe. He said, don't do that to me, Charles. Don't do that to me. I said, I'm not doing nothing to you. This is not your house. This is the people's house. So I wrote, Mugabe came. All of the media was there. About 18 of my colleagues came. They scared the others away. Bill de Blasio was there, and when he ran for mayor, they said, you went to Barron's? He said, that was a mistake. I should have never done that when he ran for mayor. But we did that. When I got in the State Assembly, we got 4 political prisoners released from prison. I got the whole State Assembly, Black, Latino, and Asians, to fill out and sign the support for Jalil Montague, who's free now, for Herman Bell, who's free now, and for Seth Hayes, who made his transition right after he got in. So we can do things inside if we remain who we are once we get inside. And that is the big issue. So I'm honored to be here today. I wanted to come by. They called me everything anti-Semitic. When they called me anti-Semitic, I said I could never be anti-black because the Semites were black. I know I might be in trouble with my brothers here, but the original Jews were black too. I ain't getting no good amens on that one, Roger. The original Jews were black. The Semites were black. Moses was black. So we can never be anti who we are. All of the original religions, whether it's Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, a lot of it started out of Africa. And we have to recognize that and be honest about that. And they weren't movements in religion to get stuff. It was to liberate people. They were revolutionary religions and revolutionary movements. So for those who celebrate Ramadan Mubarak, I say to you, Assalamu alaikum, and I wish you the best and all that we do. Free Palestine, liberate Africa, liberate our indigenous brothers and sisters, liberate the Caribbean and Latin America, Republic of Brooklyn. I still got 2 more things to do, but thank you so much for the award.
Give it up one more time for honoree Councilman Charles Barron. Some of my earliest memories in Al-Awda, New York has been with him and his presence with us. He is a dedicated ally and dedicated comrade to our movement. And we are dedicated to the movement of Black liberation as well. So thank you so much for your commitment. We really appreciate you. And remember, he does have books here. So please, if you would like to support our council member and our honoree, please do so. We do have books to sell. Thank you so much once again. And now, on that note, we begin the Palestinian portion of our program tonight. This is in honor of our fida'iyyin who are with us and those who are fallen but will always be with us.